Well, you are from Riverside County.
That's what I tried to explain to everybody. But, hey, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
This is my Associated Brokers hat.
I know. I love it. Thanks for representing.
I love it. I'm from Riverside, too.
Thank you. Thank you. Careful. There's a few of us on here.
Nice.
So have you ever read this book, Peter? The 5-Second Rule?
No.
You've heard of it, though, right?
Yeah.
Mary Beth said that she's tried to get Mel on the show, Mel Robbins on the show, and she said, like, trying to get to her is like trying to get to the president. Is that right, Mary Beth? Pretty much.
Yeah. If Greg can't get her to the secret knock, we can't get her.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing a TV show. Remember, right before the pandemic started, they signed her for this really cool kind of Oprah-esque TV show. And then the pandemic, of course, hit. And I think she might be more accessible now. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that would have been great because it's a really great book. I mean, it's I'd say one of the best ones we've reviewed, so. And again, we just curate it. So we've gone through and picked out, what we think are the best things in the book because there is just so much info. Like my eyes were rolling in the back of my head. I had like 250 slides before we got started this morning because there's so much good stuff in here. I mean, she's legit.
And who chose this book?
Oh, it was you. It was you. And we got some other good ones. Next week we're doing, I don't know if you guys have read it, next week we're doing The Alchemist. That's where we're starting with ours. Have you guys read The Alchemist by Paul Coelho? Anybody? Man, that book will knock your socks off. Fabulous book. Did we lose everybody? No.
We're all here just listening to you, Chuck.
Listening to me babble.
You can't lose me, Chuck, no matter what you do.
Thank God I have Steve. You still coming out next week, Steve?
I am.
All right, man.
Yep.
We're going to shoot a show when you come out. It's going to be fun.
Wednesday, right?
Wednesday it is. Wednesday
all right,
it is.
bud.
We're going to try to get
Thanks
some more
for the
of that,
invite.
some more of that knowledge, man. That was like last week, that last Friday was a mover, man. I want to be honest with you. I actually listened to that one again, Steve. I listened to it again in my car on the way out of town last week. And it was just so good. And then I had my sons listen to parts of it. You just did such a great job.
Well, thank you. That's such a compliment, Chuck, especially coming from you. And
Thanks.
I appreciate it a lot.
Chuck, just let the audience know on Facebook that's watching, we're about to start here.
Okay, cool. Yep, we're just about ready to get rolling, guys.
Yep.
So what do we got time frame wise? Oh, we're good. Here's a cool intro.
Good morning, everyone.
I'm not rolling the intro today.
Okay, good. That's fine. That's fine. So, Peter, Corey, you want to give it an extra couple minutes, or you want me to get rolling? There's a lot of stuff to get through today. Your call.
I'm ready. I'm excited.
Your call, Chuck. Go ahead.
All right. So that being the case, ready, Jenny?
Ready. Let's
Okay.
go.
Hey, before I get started, though, I do want to, and you know what, I should probably do this a little bit later when there's a few people more on the call, but I do want to explain who Jenny is. Jenny Waters over there. Jenny was and is a top producing agent in this company, like one of the #1 agents in our company. And then she moved out of town, and where'd you go again?
Charleston, South Carolina.
Charleston, South Carolina, and she came back. And when she came back in business development. And when she came back in business development, since last January, I think she's brought on, how many agents do you think you brought on the company since last January?
Since 2020, January?
Yeah.
100 and something.
About 112, 114. So she is a fantastic recruiter / business development / great lady. So I just want to let you know, and just a top producing background. And so when you see her now, you know a little bit more about who she is and why I love her and why she's one of my people. So anyway, so thank you, Jenny, for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go over the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. And it's the 5-second rule, the fastest way to change your life. So I mentioned this before when we went over Eat That Frog last month. Once a month in our company, we go through and have a discussion on different books that are life-changing for your business. Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy was fantastic. It just talked about prioritizing, eating the biggest frog first in your day so that you can be the most effective you can. But the 5-second rule is very different. Very different. The 5-second rule is basically exactly what it sounds like, which is, hey, Adam, can you? Oh, the 5-second rule is exactly what it sounds like. It's about making shifts in your mind to be able to accomplish the things that you want to do. And so basically Mel Robbins she was a lawyer, and she was trying to break into the TV industry, and she had a couple of kids. She was also an author, but things just weren't going right. She didn't do well on the TV show. It got canceled. She was not really working. She was raising 2 kids. Her husband had opened a business, a pizza business, and the first one was successful, but then the following ones that they opened were not doing well. She started kind of sending them into financial bankruptcy. And the problem with it is she had gone to all of her friends and asked them to invest in these restaurants with her. And then the restaurants started going down the tubes because they were losing themselves financially because these additional restaurants were not doing well. So she couldn't even be around her friends because she was losing their money. She was so depressed she was laying in bed, and while she was laying in bed, she would sleep right past her alarm, just hitting snooze, hitting snooze, hitting snooze, to the point where her kids were missing the bus for school. She was having to drive them late. She was drinking a lot. She was upset at her husband. She was angry. She was afraid, of life, and she was angry at her husband, of course, for their financial situation, and was trying to figure out what is wrong with me? What's going on? She was taking antidepressants. She was really taking Zoloft for a long time, just trying to pull her head out and kind of come up for air because she was so downtrodden with the things that were going on and in such a dark place. So basically, she started trying to decide what things she needed to do to move on to kind of getting herself back to being successful. And she would try, tomorrow I'm going to get up early, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and nothing seemed to work. And then she was walking by the television, and as she was walking by the television, she looked, and it was one of the days that they were launching a rocket out of Florida. And she sat there, and she was sitting back watching them do it, and she saw it, and it was all 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All the fire started, everything just started blowing up and just absolutely exploding. And when that happened, she just realized, oh my gosh, this is what I need to do with my life. So that being the case, she started to say, tomorrow I'm going to get up, I'm going to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to roll with this. And I'm going to charge, and I'm going to just make sure that I get up. So the next day, it was, she lived back east. And living back east, it was dark, it was cold, it was winter. Mm-hmm. It was just freezing, and she just did not want to get out of bed, but she just laid there in bed, and she's all 5, 4, 3, 2, and she just got up. So what it's really about is every time you have a decision to make, it's about making that decision right then at that moment and getting up, because at the end of that 5 seconds, hesitancy sets in. And once hesitancy sets in, then you're really in big trouble because you don't have the opportunity to actually do it because your brain has shifted and your mind has shifted you to say, you know what, I'm not going to do this. And so that's really the big kicker with all this stuff, is really making that decision to do it quick. And one of the things I have to say, Peter, are you still on the call? Is Peter still here? So Peter, when I was reading this, I was thinking about, when we would go to these marketing meetings or these Blue Ocean meetings and stuff, and you would pick up that phone, like I said before, and you would call your marketing director as soon as an idea hit. Like, not only did he not 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 it, he wouldn't wait to get back to say, I need to get this done. He would actually do it. And is there something that you use like that, Peter, or is it just something that you do?
I don't even know if I think about it. It's just, if you don't do it now, you're not going to get it done.
That's the truth. And man, you were notorious for that. And I remember watching him just thundering away, or we'll be on the phone talking about certain situations, and he'll be like, okay, I'm going to do that right now. Boom. And he just goes and gets it done. And that's hopefully what a lot of you guys are doing. And that being the case, as we get this started, we're basically kind of one decision away from a completely different life. And that decision is to start using this program, to start using the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you may have already used it, and there are times in your life when you actually are using it. So, for example, I know there was a lady in the book, and if you do read this book, by the way, guys, this book is full of social media people, Instagram, Facebook, people that have lost 200 pounds, people that have gotten promotions, people that have learned to speak up, people that have become public speakers, people that have started writing books, started writing screenplays, and it's just person after person after person that's talking about how this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 has changed their life. So that's really kind of what the book is about, is how people have instituted it in their lives. So, one girl was a lady whose sister had died, and she flew back east to go visit the family and stuff, and she saw the kids. She didn't even have to count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Jenny. She just literally said, they're coming with me. I'm raising these kids. It's over. It's done. Her heart spoke, and she hit it. So there are things that are no-brainers that you just do, and that's really what we have to train our minds to do, is that there are these things like getting up that are what's called a no-brainer, and it's when your heart speaks first, and you have to listen. And again, so like I was mentioning, she was hitting the snooze button over and over again, thinking negative things. Her alarm would go off. And once that started to happen, she just jumped up and she just said, you know what, I am going to make this difference, and launch myself out of bed. And the next morning, like I said, it was just dread in her. And so she just started counting backwards. And the reason that counting backwards is important is because it interrupts your modes of thinking. It literally like jars your brain really fast. I see Mary Beth saying, that you guys do the same, but it just jars your brain. And so whatever you're dealing with, whether it's worry, whether it's fear, whether it's problems, it just makes your mind shift immediately to the point where you just jar your brain and get out of that thought and that thinking mode. I've been using it a lot lately. I actually, yesterday I had a really stressful day, and as I was going through it, I even used it this morning with a couple things I was worried about. It just takes the overthinking out of things and allows you to just jar it. I mean, and you've used it quite a bit too, right, Jenny? And what's some of the stuff that you've done that's worked out for you?
Biggest thing is like when I don't want to go make that phone call, or I don't want to walk over and have that conversation. It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we say it in the office all the time.
We do.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
And we don't even say it slow. It's just like get it, do it, done.
Yeah, it's true. It's just counting backwards. Just takes the decisions out of it.
It does. You don't even think.
Yeah. So I mean, and that goes for going to the gym. How many times? I mean, the other day, and I think I might have told you guys, I got ready to go on a mountain bike ride. I got dressed. I put on my shoes. I put on my pack. I had my bike. I pumped up the tires. I was getting ready to put it in my truck, and then I just sat around for a few minutes and didn't go. And I just walked back into the house and started reading a book or flipped on the TV. I don't remember what I did, but had I just said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, it would have worked out. And Mary Beth, I know that you said that you have read this book, right? Have you used any of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Is it something that you're using in your life as well?
I use it every day.
Really? Can you give us an example?
Well, when the alarm goes off, which it does go off to share, I, sometimes say, okay, do I want to stay here until the snooze goes off one more time? And I just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I get up. And then again, it's to get on the bike in the morning. It helps me every morning, get on that bike. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great book. It's super easy, quick, and fun to read or listen to.
Right. And you're pushing yourself into action by doing that, and then that creates a chain reaction, right? Where you can start moving along and get out of analysis paralysis, which is one of the things, and Peter will tell you this, that kills me. And probably kills a lot of people here, is we think instead of just doing it. So I absolutely believe that. And without something like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and here's the fear, Tony, maybe you can relate with this, is we don't know that, we know what to do, and we know we need to do these things, but by not doing it, we live a life of inaction. That's the scary part. We live a time where we're actually not getting anything done because we're thinking, that thought drifts, and then you're thinking, why didn't I do it? And I always say this, when I'm writing out the to-do lists, I could get some of those to-do list items done during the time that I'm writing out the friggin' to-do lists. And I don't know if you guys run into that situation too, but just something to keep in mind. So as she deconstructed, how she started to become successful, because what happened is when she changed that morning routine, good things started to happen all over the place for her. She got herself, I heard Mary Beth saying, she got a TV show, a really good one that she's on. She was on TED Talk, which is where she was really discovered. And that's how she only mentioned the TED Talk, that piece briefly in TED Talk, but that's what she just got blown up. She ended up having thousands and thousands of comments regarding the 5-second rule, and that's when she realized I need to write a book about this, because that's really what changed her life. And so as she kind of deconstructed how that all worked, that's when it started moving forward. So, right before we're about to do something that feels difficult, scary, or uncertain, we hesitate. And that's why that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 happens, because if you let that 5 seconds go by, she says, and here's her exact words, hesitation is the kiss of death. Hesitation is the kiss of death. And it happens once. And when we exceed 5 seconds, it's just gone. So that one small hesitation kind of triggers a mental system that's designed to stop you, because we've spent our life procrastinating, worrying, being concerned, doing this, doing that, And so we've trained our brains that that's the way it works, right, Jenny? I mean, we've done it. How many times have we like knocked onto the gym for 2 years?
Yeah.
Or 3 years
And
because
then it just gets scarier and scarier.
Yeah, and what she says is it's not the big moves that define our lives, it's the small moves.
Yeah.
We've repeated this pattern of hesitating, worrying, doubting ourselves so much that these actions are now habits that have encoded in our brains. And so we have to literally retrain our brains, is her point with this. And we're going to come face to face with excuses, habits, feelings, insecurities, fears that have haunted us for years. And I don't know what kind of shape everybody is on this call, but one of the big things she talks about is health and fitness, and taking care of yourself and going to the gym and doing all that sort of stuff. And we just see how much the BS of our minds have wasted our time in our lives and put us into physical shapes that we don't necessarily want to be in.
Preach.
So, her point is using the rule, you become the person you're meant to be, in the next phase of your life. So, I mean, that's kind of the point with all of this, and by the way, anybody can jump in anytime. Is there anybody out there that is actually using this? Teresa, I know you've mentioned this a few times. Teresa DiCiola is one of our managers. She's having the best year she's ever had. Teresa, you want to talk about how you've instituted and some of the success that you've had?
Hey, Chuck, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I actually read her book about a year ago, so I've been using it about a year now. And a couple of things that I use it for is making the phone call that I don't want to make. And what's crazy about it is once I go through the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I literally hit the dial button, and then you don't have time to back out because it's already ringing. But it does flip something in your brain. And then I use it for tasks during the day, getting things done and getting things started. Getting things done isn't a problem. It's getting things started. So I'll use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for that as well.
Right. And we're gonna talk about that getting things started too. But one of the things that is kind of mentioned here quite a bit is that the front letters don't work. So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that doesn't work because you tend to keep counting instead of getting it done. And you guys know, like if you have little kids or whatever, or like, and I use this like if you're trying to get them to jump into a pool, you're like, all right guys, ready? 5, 4, 3, and they'll do it. It's just something in our head where if you go 1, 2, 3, that it's not the same. Yeah. It's about counting backwards so that there is an end that keeps us, at some certain point. So, the most famous tagline in the world is Nike. Remember this part, Jenny? And what's the Nike?
Just do it.
Right, just do it. And that is truly the most famous tagline marketing-wise in the world. And that's really what 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is about. It's about just doing it. And that means, don't stop and think, just act, just go, and overcome that hesitation. And I really hope, guys, and I really hope for you guys out there that you actually use this in your life. And I mean this because I know that like we're just doing a book review. Oh, is this going to be good? Is this going to be not good? But you really can change your life with this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can get yourself up early. You can get yourself in shape. You can recreate those habits. You can do all those things that make us our best us, our best me. So again, just try it. Just at some point today, when you know you have to get something done, whether it's making that dirty call to tell them that the AC unit has to be replaced, or that the appraisal came in $50,000 under because we had 32 offers and it went 100,000 over, and you don't want to make that call. Try using that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I guarantee you guys it will make a difference in your day and a difference in your life. So again, like Nikes, right? Don't overthink it. Just do it. I know you're tired. Just do it. I know you're afraid. Just do it. Right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can do it. So what can I use it for? This is some of the things that she says that, that can work pretty good. Number 1 is behavior change, and that's self-monitoring and self-control. Just keeping your behaviors in line, and that's the one I've been using, Jenny. With some of the stuff I've had going on, is I'm like, okay, I'm going down a dark path here. Fix it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna think about the positives.
Good.
The next one is everyday courage. Something new, scary. Self-doubt. I wanted to speak up in that meeting, or I should have said this, or I should have done that. And think of a kid like jumping off of a pool. Into a pool. It's kind of jumping. So everyday courage. And the last one is control your mind. Stop negative thoughts or endless worry. Bring joy instead. So try to I'm not going to go down that path. Whatever's going on, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Joy, joy, joy. Take a breath. All right, let's go. So that's one of them. And again, with everything that you don't want to do and that's hard, your mind has a million ways to talk you out of acting. Your brain doesn't like uncertainty. And some of these calls and some of these things not knowing how it's going to go, like when you said, if you got to go make a meeting or make a call, really you're trying to avoid the uncertainty. You don't know how that call is going to go.
Right.
Would you agree?
Yes.
So is that what you're worried about? Is that why you don't make those calls occasionally?
And making people sad. I don't want, it's going to ruin their day, or is it going to ruin my day because they're mean to me?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that makes sense. So, and so you've been using it though, and what are you finding?
I'm finding it does help. Like it's that jarring me just to don't think, just go. Because I'm not a thinker, really, I mean, as we know. But it takes me out of worrying about my emotions, worrying about their emotions. Just get it done, because after we know, it's all done. Then we can just go forward.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
And so there's no hesitation in some things that you're using in your life already. For example, when you get up, Catherine Smith, and you get a cup of coffee, you don't think about that. You do that automatically. When you get dressed, you do that automatically. When you call a friend, which is what we do. We'll call a friend. We do that automatically. Now, why don't we call a client? Because of that uncertainty, right? But so we're already using it in our life. And one of the suggestions that using it all around their office.
Right.
So they were surrounding their personal home offices, surrounding their businesses with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 everywhere they go. So it would just remind them, get it done, just do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to do this, and of course you have to have your life prioritized too, right? So that you're making sure that you're 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the important things.
Right.
But I think that's great when people do post that. Because the more you use it, the more it begins to destroy the hesitation system in your brain, right? So the more you use it, the more it begins to destroy the hesitation system in your brain. So that's the big key. Now, I've learned over the years, and this is a line from Rosa Parks, by the way. I'm going to share this with you. Rosa Parks, I've learned over the years that when one's mind is made, this diminishes fear. When your mind is made up, knowing what must be done does away with fear. And that's true. And that's part of the stuff that I've been dealing with on a personal level is uncertainty causes a lot of problems. And that's one of the things that, like, if you don't know the way this is going to go or that's going to go or whatever, once you've made a decision that I need to do this, then the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you kick it in and you get it done. And life is just so much easier. But we just get these brief moments of doubts. What if you were wrong? What if that person that I didn't go up and talk to could have been my soulmate? And what if, I can't hit my commission goals that I set for myself? Even if you stink, you're not good at stuff. I mean, there's another thing you can say, and that is, so what? You remember that one? And you remember the story, there was a guy named Tom. This is one of the articles in here. And Tom saw this girl from across the bar. He'd been separated and divorced for a few years. And he saw a girl across the bar. Everybody was in celebrating he had hit his commission goals. I think it was in Chicago. And he saw this beautiful girl across the bar. And he really wanted to go talk to her because he just felt some draw to this lady. And he was trying to think, should I go talk to her? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And so, he thought and thought and thought. And, and that's Tom. We're going to come back to him a little bit later. But basically what happened is, we don't know. She never said it in the book. But the bottom line is he did walk over there and he did talk to her. He used the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And at least he tried. Knowing that you tried that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 starts to create a pattern that we know we can push ourselves to try. And we don't let the worries win. We go for it. Now, unfortunately, in the book, it never really says what the result was. I remember you were all upset about that.
Yeah, I need closure. Did he get it? Did he not get her? I don't know.
It didn't say. So that was a big one. So, and it talks a little bit about courage. And the world rewards those who are courageous enough to stop waiting and to start. And to go do that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, whatever your dream might be, and whether it's being on television, whether it's writing a book. We have agents in the company that are writing screenplays. Maybe you have some passionate dream that you've always wanted to do, but for some reason you can never get around to it. And I think we're all guilty of that. There are passions and things that we wanted to get done that we just never really get to because we just don't really have the courage to do it. And the people that make the difference, they talked about the girl who wrote 50 Shades of Grey, who was everybody was trying to talk her out of it. She actually she couldn't even get a publisher, so she self-published it. She was a stay-home mom, and by the way, we're going to be reviewing 50 Shades of Grey in our next book, so it's going to be really fun. And Rick Hagan is going to be in charge, yes. So, but that's going to be the next one. I'm totally kidding. But anyways, that's a cool story. I mean, she self-published. She wrote it herself. She went against the odds, and she said, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm going to write it. It ended up being one of the most successful book series of all time. One of the other things we talked about, Jenny, is feelings. Feelings. And feelings in this stuff oftentimes are not a good thing, which is sad, I know. You're like, no, I love feelings. But feelings, you're not battling the ability to stick to a diet or execute a business plan or repair a broken marriage and rebuild your life. or hit your sales goal or win over a client, you're battling your feelings about doing it.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's always the feelings of doing it that are causing you the problem. And unfortunately, and this is truth, you can't control how you feel. But you can control how you choose to act. And that's really what it is. So, and we had a discussion, I'm not sure if Tom Wysocki's on here. Tom Wysocki is one of my managers. His wife ran in the Olympics, and she was a super stud. And it made me think, and the big question here is, why do athletes achieve so much? Why do athletes achieve so much? And it's because that they have talent, of course, and they practice over and over again. But more important, they can separate their feelings and their emotions and push their bodies and mouths to move even faster. They have that ability to remove the feelings of, I don't want to go do this. I don't want to, if you're a runner, for example, do I want to go run, 26 miles getting ready for the marathon? Probably not. But they're able to remove the feelings portion of it, separate out those feelings, and just move forward with their bodies and their mouths. That's the studs.
Yeah, that's the yeah.
Right? I mean, we can't even go to the gym.
I know, rock stars.
Right? We can sometimes we can't even make it to the gym. So is there anybody else that's using any of this stuff or has any kind of input on how this is working for them or not working for them? Corey, have you ever used any of this stuff? I know, dude, you're a successful dude that's made a lot of stuff happen and had a great career. Anything for you or that you're changing, or what's your feedback on it?
Chuck, I have. I read the book a while back. I use it the same way Mary Beth does, not to hit the snooze alarm in the morning. And then the other place I find it real helpful is you ever sit down at your computer and you go to do a specific thing, and to do that, you've got to go find something in your email, and then you open up your email and you realize 5 minutes later that you haven't even started the thing that you sat down to do because you got caught up in an email that you received. So I use it for focus for that, just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, back to focus.
Right. And that is actually one of the slides. You're absolutely right. And that is the thing is, and I think Mary Beth just said it, rabbit holes. Mm-hmm. We end up going down a rabbit hole and then you never get that thing accomplished. So I love that you're saying focus, because that is one of the things that she talks about. One of the other things she talks about, Corey, is activation energy, and how, in chemistry, there's a minimal amount of energy required to begin any chemical reaction. And so it takes more energy to get something started than it does once you're going. So like if you were going to call 10 clients, for example, making the first beginning call and starting that activation energy is the hardest part. But once you get into that rhythm, then you can actually, be exerting less energy than you were just trying to get to that point where I got to pick up that phone and make that hard call. So that's just a thought. And I just saw Carrie Guthrie on here. I think she might have dropped off, but I was going to ask her a question, but I think I might have lost her. But it just takes more energy to get started than to keep it going. And you either, and this was the quote. So Carrie, you're a get shit done kind of woman, right? I mean, you are. And how do you implement some of this stuff? I mean, you're one of the best managers I've ever seen. Like, how do you implement some of this stuff in your life?
Well, first of all, you better say that, Chuck.
Well, I know.
How do I implement it? Well, first of all, about the working out, I have a gym right outside my front door that my daughter runs, and there's no way to get out of it. But I could hide in my house, but I show up and I show my face. So I think a lot of it is just showing up and putting it out there. Like you said, I don't believe that I'm going to get a no. I do a lot of times, but I don't believe it in my mind. It's all mindset for me. Right. Well, I mean, because obviously you're doing it. You're doing it, whether you know it or not, right? And one of the quotes that I thought was pretty interesting here, and it applies to more than just the 5, 4, 3, 2 run rule, but we use this. Our agents posted it. Either you run the day or the day runs you. Does that make sense when you wake up in the morning? Like if you don't, set out your priorities, which is to eat that frog stuff and all that, and then say, I need to get these things done, and then start 5, 4, 3, 2, 1ing them all the way down the list, you can end up, running your entire, or having your entire day run for you and never actually getting anything accomplished. So you either run the day or the day runs you. And I thought this was cool. And Tony, I'm going to hit on you with title, but when Bob Hamrick was on the call 2 weeks ago, I don't know if you remember him, but he talked about intentional marketing. Do you remember that? And what he was saying is, he's like, if you want to add people to your database, like what a lot of us are doing right now is, if we meet somebody or whatever, we'll add that person into our database or our sphere. We'll add them onto Instagram. We'll add them onto social media.
but we are not intentionally saying, I, Tony Santiago, with Ticor Title, am going to add 20 people, 20 agents to my title list this month of people that I'm going to reach out to and try to land their title business. And so when we don't do that, when we just let life run with us and we don't have a plan and a way to attack it, like with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's when the day runs us. And we never actually get anything done. I mean, do you run into that, Tony, or do you have a list? Because I know you guys are one of the best title reps out there. I mean, how are you applying this?
Well, I think just from the time you've spoken about it, I am going to now pick up the book and read it, because I think that's the battle, not just with us, but I think a lot of us can relate, is that the agony of starting it and starting the process of picking up the phone and making the call, sending out an email or whatever it is. It's that battle. And now if listening to you, I think I'm going to start implementing that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 just so I can start. I think that's, for me, the biggest challenge is starting to pick up the phone and making those calls. And no, I think it's super relatable. I was trying to wrap my mind around your call this morning of how it can relate to me, and I think to all of us in our business now. And I think having something to drive you to push to start as a mechanism, as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, using that as a mechanism to start, it's going to be completely helpful for me. I think it's going to change the way I do my business.
Hey, Tony, do me a favor, dude. Do me a favor. Anybody that's on this call, all right? If you use 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and something badass happens in your life today, send me a text, because that makes all this stuff worthwhile. Does that make any sense? If somebody goes, you know what? I've been waiting to call this person. I wasn't going to do it. I called them, and guess what? They just gave me a listing. Like, if I hear that, I'm going to be super pumped and want to keep doing this stuff. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Jenny.
But even just if you did it and you made the call, maybe you didn't get the listing, but that brought you out of your shell. It got you rolling. Hey, I got to know. Big whoop. Let's do another one.
Yep.
Yep. It's not about the yes every time.
Right. Well,
right?
and
we are going to get them. It's a numbers game.
That's with Tom, right? Like he was saying, it was about, the guy that was trying to go get that number from the girl or do whatever. It's not about what happened. It's about the fact that he had the courage to go do that.
That's true.
And create the activation energy, right?
Yes.
That's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right.
Yes.
All right, cool. So let's talk about health real quick.
Okay.
All right, health real quick, because it is important. And remember, at the end of our lives, it's not really going to matter how much money we have. It's important, don't get me wrong, but if you don't have the health to go spend that money and to spend your retirement, you're screwed. So, the best retirement policy you can have is good health. So she talks about how most people generally don't want to work out. For me, because I like spin classes and stuff like that, the thought of hyperventilating as I'm pedaling does not sound fun. Being deprived of bread, you know what I mean? Of bread? I love bread, but we're deprived of bread because, and so when I think about getting in really good shape, I start thinking about hyperventilating, the lack of bread. I've been to what do you call that, CrossFit? And they had me day one, I hadn't worked out in 2 years. They hooked me up with some dude that was teams, and this monster guy comes out, he's all ripped, he's like, you're gonna be on my team, he had chaw on his lip. You're on my team, bro, we're gonna do this, we're gonna win. And I'm like, okay, what are we doing? He's like, it's a 2-mile run. You're running the first mile, and then we're gonna do a handoff, and I'm gonna run the second mile, and we're gonna kill this thing, dude. And I'm like, I hadn't worked out in 2 years. I swear to God. So do you guys know how sick I was throwing up behind the car afterwards?
Yeah.
And then after that, the CrossFit guy brings me in. He's like, okay, we're going to do 50 burpees. I can't even walk. So a lot of times when we're thinking about getting in shape, those are the thoughts now that go across my head.
Yeah.
So we have to train ourselves, and man, we could just chill out on the couch, Jenny, and just watch some Netflix, and that'd be pretty easy to do. And we just want to do the things that feel easy. But instead, we have to figure out what we can do to start using the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to start easy. Just go to the gym one time.
Yeah.
Just go one time.
Chuck?
Yes.
If I may share,
please.
You can exercise and do Netflix at the same time.
Amen.
I get up every morning and get on my treadmill because I'm going to watch my Netflix series, and that is my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, well, so let me ask you this, because everybody knows. You're obviously a badass. What Netflix show are you watching when you're doing it?
It depends. I've watched pretty much everything that I have watched. I do it on my treadmill.
I love it.
And now I'm glad I'm hearing this because I just bought myself a new toy.
Okay.
And it's really, really hard. I didn't realize it was going to be so hard. I bought an elliptical bike, a Street Strider, and it's super, super hard. So I've done it twice. I'm all bruised from it, and I really don't want to do it. But after today, I guess tomorrow it will be Silver Strand, and I will do my 11 miles.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go, Karen Vargas. All right, it's going to work. It's going to work. So, so here's where that feeling comes into play. We have to stop thinking about how we feel. And, the only thing that really matters is not what we're feeling and talking about, but it's what we actually do, right?
Yeah.
So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get to the gym. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, put down the donut and get a grilled chicken breast. All right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Walk away from that bakery that's seducing you like a siren. All right? Walk away. So that's some of the stuff those are just life examples of things we can do to, implement this in our lives so that we can be better, stronger, faster, more in shape, smarter, sharper, better off financially, because when we live healthier lives, amazing things start to happen for us in our personal lives and professional lives, right? If I'm feeling good, which I am because I've been working my ass off for 4 months, all of a sudden my energy level is higher. I need less sleep. You know what I mean? Things seem to be firing on all cylinders. So just remember that you're helping your financial business. And you guys know, one of the things with West and one of the things with Coastal Alliance and with Associated Brokers and Town & Country is we are a company, when we're doing these calls, when you're having the NFL coach come on, when we're doing stuff like the 5-second rule, when we're doing all these things, we are not just about money. We are not at all about money. We mentioned this last week, Jenny, right? We are about having a balanced life, living a long time, taking care of people, being karmic, being successful in all the areas in our relationships and everything. So it's just not about that. I do think it all begins with our health. And when we're not feeling good health-wise, boy, what did Fat Bastard say? I'm depressed, so I eat. And I eat because I'm depressed. It just goes back and forth, and I keep thinking about that, and it's just this cycle. So let's snap out of it, and good job buying that elliptical, Karen. I love
know, that's awesome.
Right? Now I'm jealous. I bought an exercise bike that I've been on for 15 minutes, and I bought it 3 weeks ago. I'm going to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 that shit tonight. Yeah. All right. So one thing I want to tell you guys, go the extra mile because it's never crowded. Does that make any sense?
I love that one.
Go the extra mile. Don't worry. It's never crowded. And so just something to keep in mind. Now, we're going to talk about productivity. I'm going to hit on you, Rick Hagan, in a minute. But, nothing will work unless you do, right? Maya Angelou said that, But when we're talking about productivity, and here's what Corey was saying. Productivity and being a productive person boils down to one word, focus. And that is the ability to manage distractions and get them out of your life and being able to focus on the big picture and stop wasting our day on stupid stuff. Because I do it all the time. And we do it because it's easy. We do it because there's no challenge. We do it, people checking their emails all day long is a perfect example. Going on social media all day long is a perfect example. So, Rick, productivity-wise, dude, you're a successful guy and had a great career. How do you stay focused and manage distractions?
The biggest thing I do is I shut off my mobile device, my cell phone or my iPad. When I've got to get something done, I just have to shut it off because, there's so many phone calls, so many texts, so many I need you nows that I can just get frozen in the moment and never get anything accomplished. So I have to take some time. I book it away, and that's time that I'm being proactive is how I use it. I just say, look, there's my reactive time. I have to be responsive to the agents. I have to help them get their next commission by closing transactions. But I also have to be proactive, or else I let them down every day. So to me, it's about making sure that I lock that in. Right. One of my big challenges with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for me personally is in risk management. I'm always worrying about the law of unintended consequences. I talk about luck, getting lucky, LUC, law of unintended consequences. I have to stop before I take action and think about what are the unintended consequences of these actions. And that can freeze me sometimes. So it's very challenging.
Right. And I like that one. And the first one as well. And one of the things that she says in the book is turning off your notifications. I had an Apple Watch, and I went back to my regular watch because that Apple Watch was distracting the hell out of me, Rick. It was to the point where I was having anxiety. You remember, Jenny?
Yes.
I was having anxiety attacks. I would be on the phone. I'd feeling like I'm rude. I'm trying to have a conversation with anybody. It could be Mary Beth when we're at dinner or whatever, and I keep looking at my watch, and it's rude, and then it's this person texting, and it's an email coming through. It's just all these different things. So I had to get rid of that Apple Watch, and I'm finding that a lot more people are doing it too because it's just destroying their ability to focus.
You can turn off notifications so you can still close your rings.
I know. Oh, you like your rings, yeah.
I like my rings. Anybody else like their rings so you can see how you're doing?
How many, wait, that's calorie burning and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. And then it's a watch and calorie burn. Yeah.
Yes, but I get it. If you are such the person that you are, it's like, no, if it's here, I have to have it. I have to know.
Yep, distraction. So and that went back to Corey with focus, you know.
Yeah.
So the next thing that it talks about is getting up early. So when that snooze alarm does go off, the law of unintended consequence, that was good. Yeah. So when that alarm does go off, so let's say you get up at 6 o'clock. There's a study in here, I think it was like a professor from Cornell, that says half hour after you get up, so if you wake up at 6, from 6:30 to 9 is your most productive mind time. It's when you're going to get the most things done, when you're the sharpest, when you're the most effective, when you're the most efficient. So something to just remember is, try to make sure that you are taking advantage of your mornings, whether it's, creating affirmations or creating your to-do list for the day or whatever that may be. Just remember that the mornings are your most productive time of the day. Okay? And so she did give an exact morning routine of what to do. So, get up when the alarm rings, and because how you get up is as important as sleep. You're smiling about something. Go ahead.
There was a TikTok that somebody sent me yesterday about morning routines. I was like, this guy, and he's like a millionaire. He's like,
No, it was great.
It was great. No, it's not my morning routine. Yes, I just get up and I get my stuff done.
Right.
And I don't spend
He was
more money.
taking it to the extreme. He was like, I get up at 3 a.m. and then I go for a mile run and then I drink a gallon of water and then I go for another mile run and then I write a note to everyone's inspired me that week, and it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was completely unrealistic, but yeah, that was funny.
It was funny. Sorry.
So, and by the way, there is a direct correlation too between hitting the snooze button and the result of that is grogginess, sleep inertia, and it destroys your potential habits of getting up on time. So
I agree with
so
that
like
100%.
sleeping in, a lot of times you think sleeping in is going to help you be less tired, but then you just spend the entire morning groggy. So that's one of the things. Also, this is one of the things that she suggests if you want to get started with this. Put your alarm, when you set it, in your bathroom. Yeah. So by putting your alarm in your bathroom, turn that all the way up, and put it in your bathroom and watch what happens. You have to get up because that thing is blasting and blaring. And if you got little kids or whatever, you're running to that bathroom to wake it up before they do. So her alarm is not next to her bed, and neither is her phone. So if her phone rings or anything goes like that, she also leaves that in the bathroom to make sure that she's getting up because she knows that the day starts with that. And then for her number 3, she brushes her teeth and focuses on the day ahead. So, think about me and my big picture, of what she wants to get done while she's brushing her teeth. This is just how hers works. So, alarm in the bathroom, phone in the bathroom. The brushing her teeth in the morning is when she's thinking about her goals, her dreams, and her business growth. So this is just how she works, which is almost coming back to that TikTok because it almost sounds like some of it's like, yeah, that's a lot of stuff. I don't know. And then she gets dressed, she makes her bed, she walks into the kitchen, and she makes a cup of coffee. And she makes sure that by the time she's dressed and all that stuff, she still has not looked at her phone or checked her email. Because the moment she checks her phone, the moment she checks her social media, the moment she checks her email, she's completely lost her focus. Because what we tend to do, and we talked about this in the Frog, is, we wake up, we roll over, and we immediately look to see what's on our phones. And we're automatically distracted and letting the day run us immediately by seeing, that, hey, somebody texted me, somebody said this, somebody emailed me, somebody, hit me up on social media, whatever that may be. So you lose control of the beginning of your day of being efficient and laying out what you want to get done in that day by looking at your phone first. Have you been working on that at all, Jenny?
I don't look at social media immediately.
Okay.
One of my greatest joys when I wake up, though, is looking at the text messages because I go to bed very early and I wake up very early. So I love to see what my kids have texted me, grandkids, or somebody sends me a funny TikTok, I love that in my morning.
Well, and you just said something, though. You said my kids and my grandkids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is a priority. And there's nothing wrong with that being a priority, even if that's above business, which is great, So, but that's just how she operates. Now, the one other thing that she does in the morning, and it goes back to that person that says they do all these things, is she writes down 3 musts for the day. I must get these 3 things done today.
I love that.
So, for example, if I'm Tony, I need to add 3 people. If I'm, Peter, I might say, I need to, buy a company today. I need to chew up my competition somewhere and spit them out. That's a must.
It took me a second to
whatever it may be, So everybody's got something different, but writing down those musts focus you on that day. And then once you have those musts and you get into the office or whatever, now you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 those things. So again, it's just prioritizing. And she uses a planner. which we talked about before, not this calendar. Because one of the problems with this calendar is you don't see what's happening with this calendar. What you see is nothing, because you don't go into your calendar unless you get a notification. So if you have the big day planner, which is what you use, and I have my big annual calendar that has my whole year planned out. This is when the mid-year, this is when our Monday motivations, this is our Fridays. So that's how I live, is by living by that big calendar that's posted in front of me, and that's what she uses too. I don't know if any of you other guys are using something digital and it's working for you, but I find it hard to not have something visually in front of me. Next up, number 6. I plan my day, and she tries to plan her day before 7:30. That's in the morning. That's a big one. And she says that is the most critical thing. So yes, I have my musts, but it's also from 8:30 to 9, I'm going to do this. From 9 to 10, I'm going to do this. From 10, especially when people are as crazy busy as they are during this COVID situation. If they even if we had a little section in there, like if Peter did, that hey, from 9:30 to 10, I'm going to focus on world domination, no matter what, or real estate domination, or Corey's going to say, I'm going to go. Fight the big fight with, the MLS about some issues that are going on or whatever. If you set those times aside, you're focusing on the right things. So once you're in the office, by the way, if you've not laid it out, your day is done. So if you don't have it laid out, and you walk in and you don't have your to-do list or your plan for the day, what did we talk about before? Either the day runs you or you run the day.
Right.
And if you show up without a to-do list, the day runs you.
Yeah.
Because the first 2 or 3 hours, remember when you get there, are the best time to focus. And that's why you got to have those plans. Jenny?
I gotcha.
All right, good. So if you're focusing on 2 of the things, on your first 30-minute list, you're winning. Because I think a lot of times we're not even working on, some of those top prioritized musts. And again, it all just begins with jump-starting your morning. One of the other things she said, and this is number 7, is she plans a quitting time. So she says, I am leaving work and I am leaving the office and I'm going to shut my day down at 5 p.m., for example. Because by having that deadline, she's stopping and redirecting her life, because what happens is there's something in our head that it's called Parkinson's Law, where whatever time we give ourselves, we end up getting something done by that time. Oh my God, I gotta hurry, I gotta get out of here at 5. So, and then, so you're rushing and you get it done. But for us in real estate, a lot of times you're like, oh, I can do it tomorrow. But, or I can just keep working all night, and then you're neglecting your family or significant other or whatever. So your work expands to whatever time you give it. And going home and taking a break from work that's your time to rest and recharge and reset. And you'll get things done, and your priority should already been done, right? Because we laid it all out. Anything to add? Anybody? Anything? Corey, you got anything to add on that? Are you feeling it? What about you, Corey? Because dude, you're a busy guy, man. You guys have 1,000 agents and all that sort of stuff. What do you do to plan your day out?
So, Chuck, I know you don't keep lists, right? And you don't necessarily put all the subtasks under a project that has to be done. I have to do that to keep track of it. And so I use kind of a combination of a program called Getting Things Done, or a way of thinking about time planning. Getting Things Done by David Allen. And I use a program that's called Amazing Marvin, just to track all of the different things to do in a day. And I think what you said is really important earlier. You have to focus on 3 to 5 things in a day. It's really hard with everything else that comes up to get more than that done on some days. But the other side of that is, if you don't know what those things are, you're going to do everything else that comes up and be completely reactionary versus being intentional.
Exactly. Reactionary versus intentional. That's true. And I don't know if you remember this part in the book too, and maybe you do too, Jenny, but anchor thoughts. That you can use anchor thoughts to overcome things. Actually, and then it's basically about like keeping yourself grounded and always keeping an idea of where your goals are. And that's pretty much in every book. But one of the things that I did want to say is there was a study in the book by Dr. Pillemer. And he's from Cornell. And you guys are going to love this. I think this is really cool. He interviewed 1,200 senior citizens, 1,200 people that were at the end of their lives, that were coming up, had more days behind them than they do ahead. And he was trying to figure out what their life lessons were. He was doing a big study to say, like, what advice do they have for those people that are in their lives, living day to day, and what is their biggest regrets? And so in his analysis, hands down, there was one regret that was the most important, and that was stopping worrying. worrying is the one thing they said, I wish I wouldn't have worried so much. And again, that's one of the things I'm guilty of, is constantly worrying. So, and they just say, I just wish I wouldn't have spent as much time, worrying. And in the study, and it kind of hits on the idea of worrying, it's the key to overcoming worrying is catching yourself as you drift into worrying. It's right when it starts, and that's one of the things I've learned, because during my issues and my times as I was reading this book, is the minute something started to drift in on me, the minute something started to worry me, I 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 it right out of the gate. You can't let yourself go down that path of worrying, because then you try to stop it and it's harder to stop. So the minute you start to get a negative thought or something comes into your head, you have to address it right then, Jenny, like right then, and then try to regain control immediately. And for me, there's a big part of my day spent right now, good chunks just using that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule. The other thing is I never understood this until now, but you guys know how everybody's saying you need to be grateful. You need to feel good about the things that are happening in your life. You need to write down a list of all the things that you're grateful for. And I always thought that's really cool, but why is it in every single book? Every single self-help book, from Anthony Robbins to Brian Tracy, to Tom Ferry to Mike, it's because this is what they realize in this, is that feeling grateful creates a chemistry in your brain by activating your brainstem and producing dopamine. And it actually produces dopamine that helps you overcome the worrying fears. So it's a chemical reaction, Jenny.
That's awesome.
I thought that was cool, and so when we talk about panic attacks and things like that, your heart races, your breath speeds up, you're sweaty, hyper awareness, I've had them, and I'm sure, how many people on this call have had panic attacks before in their lives? Almost everybody, right? I mean, for me, I still get them all the time, and you think maybe you're having a heart attack, and it's usually stress. Like, oh, maybe I don't want to get married. Maybe I'm going to get fired. Maybe I'm going to go broke. Maybe I'll never sell another house. Maybe I'm going to die. Whatever it may be. So the panic attacks are real things in people's lives. Bernadette just said she's had one recently, and Bernadette, I feel sorry for you, because I've had them recently too, and they are so overcoming. You really do think you're having a heart attack, So basically, some people are so afraid of having a panic attack that they have a panic attack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're just so afraid of it happening that it happens. So like I was saying, so she was, taking Zoloft for 20 years. And we talked to a lot of people in the company that were also taking Prozac and doing all that stuff. And that happening, you just have to, and if you see your kids doing it or friends doing it, it's heartbreaking, and it's stressful for you to see. And so what we have to do is we just have to overcome that by trying to do that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and shifting right away. The minute you feel that, guys, the minute you start to feel something going on, you have to shift and try to think of something positive. So she was using the example, if you remember, Jenny, of like getting on a plane. She was so afraid to fly.
Right.
So every time she would start getting scared or getting, having panic attacks on a plane, she would think about, oh, that's right, in 9 hours, I'm going to be having dinner in Chicago at a steakhouse with 3 of my really good client friends. And then, so she was always saying, you got to focus on something that is the next positive task coming down the road in your life. And that way, and she was actually able, and I'm not suggesting it, by the way, but she was able to get off Zoloft and her antidepressants and all that stuff by using the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and shifting to thinking about the positives the minute she started to feel it. And that's building real confidence, and also, it starts to build confidence in yourself too, that, I don't have to worry because I can overcome these. And there was a quote in this book that I thought was great. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. The cave you are afraid to enter holds the treasure you seek. So that's just something to be aware of. And she kind of talks about speaking from your heart and passion, even if your voice shaking, and finding your passion, and I thought this is always something that we talk about, Jenny, right? I mean, a lot. Your purpose. What are you here for?
Yeah.
What is your interest? And a lot of people just can't answer that question. There's 10% of the people that can say, I'm here because I know I like to be a doctor, I like to help people or whatever, but there's 90% of the people out there that don't know why they're here and don't know what their real purpose is. So she gave a small exercise on how to find your purpose. And you have to ask these questions. And I think this is really cool.
Yeah, I love this.
Number 1, what are you curious about? That's very simple. So if I'm curious about, oh, you know what, mountain biking is interesting. Hiking is interesting. The desert is interesting, whatever that may be. And what things can you not stop thinking about? That's really funny, is what things can kind of like plague your head, no matter what it is. It might be cooking. It might be reading, whatever it may be. But you're just trying to find the things that excite you and make you happy. This is a big one, and I have to read this one to you guys. This one is huge. Like if you're zoning out of me, zone back in for a minute, okay? If you want to know what your purpose is, or get an idea of, those people that you envy, Remember that one, Jenny?
Yes,
the
this is
people
what I've
that
been
you
thinking
envy
about.
that you're like, oh my God, that lady is so cool, or this guy's
so
cool.
annoying,
You know,
or
or that guy
something.
is so annoying. I can't stand that guy, or this or that. Did you ever think that maybe it's because they're living your dream?
1,000,000%.
They're living your dream. You know what I mean? So when you see somebody that's super fit or whatever, you know, and out there strutting their stuff at 50 years old and you're getting mad at them, it's because you want to be super fit because that's your passion and something you love doing, you know? So, you know, so for me, I have the same thing. So there's people that I meet that I'm like, oh God, whatever. You know, Peter's got 1,000 agents, you know, like, well, maybe I want to, no, I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? It's like, what causes envy about someone else, you know? And then once you find that, okay, so I'm interested in, you know, this or that or whatever, kayaking, whatever. Then start YouTubing it, reading it, talking about it, taking classes on it. You know, that's kind of how you find that passion. You know, maybe it's gourmet food, maybe it's writing. And as you start to find that interest or see what you see in other people that you like, you start building that momentum in whatever it is that interested you. And then you know, I don't know, you know, I asked you this the other day and you said no, but when we do our Monday Motivations, which is, you know, when we do all these book reviews and we have the conversations with everybody, I get excited to wake up on Monday mornings because I know we're doing that. And I get excited about it, you know, so you feel good when you do it.
Yes.
Are there things that you get excited when you wake up certain days that you're like, oh, I'm excited about this?
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
There's your passion.
Yes.
You know, if you're excited to get up and go do something, you know, then you're there. One of the things about passion, and you know, The Alchemist is the next book that we're reviewing, Corey, which by Paul Coelho, which is probably one of my top 3 or 4 favorite books of all time. Like of any book I've ever read, it was a life changer for me. It hit me at a time that I really needed it. And the theme of that book is the universe conspires to help you when you follow your heart. The universe conspires to help you when you follow your heart. God rewards you. You know, I'm not trying to get religious, but you know, you get rewarded for doing the things you're meant to do and the things you were put here to do. And that's really the theme of that book. You know, and for him, this perfect example is one of the most, you know, highest selling books of all time, like 25 million copies, but 1 copy sold in the first week. His second copy sold in 6 months. And now it's one of the biggest selling books of all time. So, you know, he overcame that fear and had to deal with that as well. So basically, you know, if we can overcome, you know, these obstacles and these uncertainties and all that and use this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I mean, we can move mountains. Like whatever's happening in our lives right now, you know, we'll never be in this spot again. And the moves we make with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, future you will thank you for. Those calls that you make today, those 20 relationships that Tony Santiago makes with new agents is going to pay off for him in the future. The 10 calls that you make to clients, just checking on them, seeing how they're doing so you don't lose them to Zillow on their iPad at night, is going to pay off for you in the future. So whatever's happening in your life, just remember that you have the opportunity to use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 kind of to help change our futures forever. And, you know, so when your heart speaks, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, make that move. You know, and each moment of courage can make your day, you know, and then it can, you know, change your week, and then it can change your life, and then you can, you know, just really start to live the life you want. So basically, Jenny, I mean, we're kind of at the end. This is the end of my summary, to be honest with you. And,
Good.
You know, there's greatness inside you, and we all know it, and there's purpose inside you. We just have to go make something amazing happen. So, you know, basically, guys, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go do it.
Lance Martin texted me and instructed me to give you a Xanax, by the way.
You know what? I probably need one, Lance. Thanks. But Peter, that's.
I love it, brother.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I mean, Lance, are you using any of this stuff? And you guys know Lance owns Coldwell Banker Town and Country, you know, out here in Inland Empire. Anything you're using like this?
I love this stuff. I mean, I'm a big contact management guy, but for me, if I'm being honest, I do things that I have to do. And there's got to be the why. I think at the very end you were kind of summarizing, you know, what's your purpose? Why are you here? And I find I am super, super hyper focused and extremely disciplined in certain areas, and in other areas not so much. But those areas where I'm hyper focused and I get shit done, it's because I have to. So for me, sometimes what the trigger for me is I have to trigger something that forces me to do it, because if I don't, then I get a little bit lazy like everybody else. So it's just, you know, I've got a million stories over the last 30 years and 1 or 2 over the last 2 or 3 years that there were some impossible things, but I just made it so that it had to get done. There was no alternative. You know, it's kind of like burning the bridges or burning the boats. You know, you're stuck there, therefore you have to do it. So I don't have a magic bullet, but kind of like Corey, I'm a to-do list guy and I'm a CRM guy.
Right.
And part of motivation is I am super OCD. I don't know about the panic attack stuff, but what partially motivates me is if I have a to-do list and it's not done, that destroys me. I can't look at something that I said I was going to do and then not do it, 2 days later.
Yep.
So that kind of, that's my own dysfunction, but I kind of use it to help me push forward.
Well, thanks, Lance. And I do have a question, and Corey, if I could. So I mentioned that we review our books, every month. And then what I do is I like to come on these Fired Up Fridays and give you guys the final summary curated version of these books. So is this something, guys? Yeah, Mel Robbins, 5-Second Rule. Is this something that you guys like? Like, would you like me to continue to come in and curate these, top books? Is this something that you guys see value? And you know what? Hey, whatever you want to do, you can let Peter know, you can let Lance know if you don't, because it's not going to hurt my feelings. But we just try to curate and give you the things that are the best for your life, for your business, for your finances, for your health, for your balance, for your spirit. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. And you know what? Really try to go out there with that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing. And go today. So I'm ready. I'm going to give us a send off. It's 9:30. Ready? Anybody have any closing comments before we do? Peter, anything, buddy? Nope. All right, guys. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go do it. Take it easy, guys.
Thanks, Chuck.
All right, Peter.
It was awesome.